Once the war was over, the Soviets pulled out, the US walked away, leaving Afghanistan and its people at the mercy of their fate, and we were also left in the lurch with a painful legacy in terms of massive refugee influx and a culture of drugs and guns, commonly known as Kalashnikov culture, which has almost torn apart our social and political fabric. In the years that followed, the United States not only turned a blind eye on our strategic concerns vis-à-vis India, but also started bringing us under greater scrutiny and pressure for our legitimate nuclear program. In the 1990s, we faced an unfair, punitive approach under its congressional laws on nuclear proliferation and human rights. Mind you, it has a series of laws that it invokes when it suits them, that it waives when it again suits them. And that's what we have been experiencing. We have had a relationship with the United States, a checkered history of this relationship with ups and downs, and a rotating phase with rotating phases of engagement and estrangement. Engagement when it suited the United States to engage us, and estrangement when they wanted to punish us. And ironically, these phases of engagement and estrangement also had a different complexion, that whenever we had the honeymoon period with the United States, the phase of engagement, ironically, there used to be a Republican government sitting in Washington, Republican administration, and a military or military-controlled government in Pakistan. Look at your history. The 60s phase, Cold War, they needed us. It was honeymoon period. We had Ayub Khan here, General Ayub Khan, and of course the Republican presidents over there. And then the phase of estrangement starts when we had an elected government in Pakistan with the Shaheed Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, a people's elected government, and a Democrat administration there later. So what happened? We had difficulties and eventually the disappearance and assassination, the judicial murder of our elected leader. Then from 90s we had a series of elected governments. That was a phase of, again, estrangement. Democrats, President Clinton presided over the White House. So we had a difficult phase facing sanctions. And then 9/11 again changes the scenario. A Republican president takes over, 9/11 takes place, and here General Musharraf takes over. So then another honeymoon period starts, and then all is history that you know. Since then, we have not recovered whatever has happened during those 8 years. The sum total of Pakistan's post-9/11 foreign policy has been its new identity on the global radar screen as the hotbed of religious extremism and terrorism, and a country afflicted with an incorrigible culture of violence and militancy. From being a major part, now this is very important. You see, we may have had many problems in the last 50 years until we suddenly found ourselves after 9/11, that from being always equated with India as a major power in the region, we were dehyphenated, and very conveniently, President George W. Bush, standing in the presidency along with General Musharraf, announced in a very unmannerly manner that Pakistan stands dehyphenated from India. Pakistan is not the same country. It cannot be equated with India. If at all, Pakistan falls in the bracket of Afghanistan. So he took Pakistan from India's category and placed us in the bracket with Afghanistan. So, from being a major power in South Asia, always equated with India, Pakistan today is bracketed with Afghanistan in terms of its outlook, in terms of its role, in terms of its needs, and in terms of its problems. This is an unenviable distinction that circumscribes our role both within and beyond our region. Ladies and gentlemen, about our nuclearization, I mentioned that a lot of pressures we had to face, but at that time we had an elected government, and I am witness to some of the realities. The US President called the then Prime Minister at least 5 times. And the message used to be that India has done a bad thing, very bad thing. India is a bad boy. And mind you, when India conducted its tests on 11th and 13th May, not a one word was uttered in the West condemning India's tests. Not one word. In fact, persons like Henry Kissinger and Senator Moynihan, who had been ambassador to India, they asked the administration that why are you being apologetic? You should not be defensive, you should be complimenting Indians for showing their nuclear power. This was their attitude. And at the same time, they were subjecting us to unprecedented pressure, threats as well as inducements. So they were offering undefined packages of monetary aid and all that, the $5-6 billion package. And if you don't go ahead with tests, you will be punished. You already are under sanctions, you will suffer more. But the credit goes to the leadership of that time, that at least while keeping the process of engagement intact with the US leadership, with the Western leadership, every day telephones coming and going, they did not tell them that go to hell. There is a way of dealing with others, with your Mr. President. We appreciate your concerns. We do understand, but we have been drawing your attention for the last 25 years, since 1974, when India first conducted its nuclear test, which the West, in fact, welcomed as smiling Buddha at that time. So we had been not only drawing their attention to India's nuclear ambitions, but we had also been taking proactive initiatives in global forums,